It's Monday 9th of June 25, and I think there was a momentous moment, a landmark moment in Britain last Wednesday. I think that was the 4th of June, where Sarah Pochin, the new Reform MP, asked her first question, and she only got elected about 1 or 2 weeks ago, and this is how it went. And I'm just going to show you, first of all, just I'll show it a couple of times. This is from Daily Express on the YouTube.
They have no plan for Scotland's future.
Sir, Pochin. Yeah.
Given the Prime Minister's desire to strengthen strategic alignment with our European neighbours, will he, in the interests of public safety, follow the lead of France, Denmark, Belgium and others and ban the burqa?
Yeah. Prime Minister.
Can I welcome her to her place? But I'm not going to follow her down that line. But now she is here and safely in her place, perhaps she could tell her new party leader that his latest plan to bet £80 billion of unfunded tax cuts, with no idea how he's going to pay for it, is Liz Truss all over again. Although, considering I think she was a Conservative member when Liz Truss was leader, she probably won't.
Got to Scott Arthur.
I've got big tech problems with this because I can't keep the volume up without it echoing, double thinging. So yeah, I'll just go through it a few times again, because I think it's a momentous moment for Britain, because it's the first we've had of this. And actually, Rupert Loder today held a meeting in Parliament, a debate, not in the main chamber, down below, about halal meat and kosher meat, and I thought that was really good of him. He was to ban non-stun slaughter, basically, and he included kosher meats, which is fair enough, I think most Brits want the animals to be treated humanely. But the other thing about this, people have been discussing it slightly. Nigel Farage said he wanted to debate about it, and I think that's the right way that a leader should say something. They should say, well, we need to have a debate, a public debate. It's not a case of you should just come forward and say, we're banning it, or it should be, even if you want to ban it. First of all, it should be, we'll have a debate and see what people think. I believe in the Swiss electoral system where you would have a referendum on it, I think they had a referendum in Switzerland about building new types of religious buildings, or no, it was the minarets, I think, and it was decided around about 2009 there was to be no more minarets or something. I'm sure, but I can't be totally sure on that. But that's the kind of thing you can do in a referendum, but we don't have them here. We've got very archaic democracies that aren't really democratic, and that's the way the politicians like it. They like one vote every 5 years. That's how they like it, which is not very democratic at all. First past the post, so you can have 66% of the MPs with 35% of the vote, 35% of 59% of voters, Jeremy Corbyn gave more votes than Keir Starmer. He got more votes in 2019, which Keir calls the low point, But yeah, this question, I think this is sort of a turning point, because, well, I won't comment on it myself, but the fact it's been asked, and you could hear all the disdain, all the gasps and all that, and I'll try and play it slower this time.
They have no plan for Scotland's future.
Sir, Pochin. Yeah.
Given the Prime Minister's desire to strengthen strategic alignment with our European neighbours, will he, in the interests of public safety, follow the lead of France, Denmark, Belgium?
And it's interesting that these other democratic Western countries have already banned them, have banned it. Why are we so far behind, you could think of it as a women's rights thing, because apparently there's been quite a bit of debate this week, or at least I've watched, and someone was saying that this actually predates any religious connection, you know, from the areas that it's coming from, you know. And it's not really something we can comment about in Britain. We've not got that sort of free speech. I mean, the free speech, it's a bit better now than it was, say, a year ago. I mean, Nigel Farage last August got asked on GB News, do you think you personally could be arrested for a tweet or something? And he said yes, you know. And now, a year later, looks like it's going to be Prime Minister, you know, with a massive majority. But it just goes to show how far away from free speech we've went, you know. And it's actually on behalf of the ultra nice, quote, the ultra nice, who seem to, some of the ultra nice, you know, they like face masks and things like that, and when they're, you know, but I don't mean for COVID or anything, I just mean for their protests or whatever, you know. But yeah, I just think this is a momentous moment because it just feels like a turning point. Like finally, we're taking these sort of things head on. So well done to her. This is the one that people thought shouldn't be elected because she went to some hotel when she was 1 or 2 years ago. I don't know, but people were saying symbolically that was a bad thing or whatever. But this is everyone who thought that now is thinking different now, I guess.
Belgian and others and ban the burqa.
Yeah.
And it's good that she just got straight to it and said that. And also, I think I wonder if Reform have been waiting for a woman MP to be able to do this. You know what I mean? And I wonder who decided it. I think it's her, probably. And 9jun25 said yes. On you go. So there's one of those independents we're going to have many of soon. There was talk that they were going to, he was going to get together with the other 4 independents, not Jeremy Corbyn, the other 4. They were going to form a group, but they haven't done so. Maybe they don't agree on enough stuff. That's what I think is going to happen in Britain, you know. The way we're going to go, all these former Labour areas are going to go independent, quote, independent.
Yeah. Prime Minister.
So there was quite a lot of gasps and all that, you know. The room there still looks like old Britain in a way, as if Britain's not changed that much, you know. It's not reflecting how Britain has changed, you know. I think at the moment, in the last census, it was about 75% of one group. But that was before the Boris wave, so I'm imagining that's maybe under 70%, actually, personally. That was 2021 for England, 22 for Scotland. I think Scotland, the last census, it was 79% for natives, if you want to call them that way. It was it was 77% native, 8%, probably you could say Westerners, even if they're from East Europe, and then 15% other. So, and that was before the Boris waves as well. So that's 77% of Scotland. You know, people keep saying Scotland's 96%. It's nowhere near that. Now, last we heard in 2022 was 77% in the census, but that's we've had 3 Boris waves since then, so it could be down to 70%, I would imagine. But yeah, so as you can hear all the groans and all that, let's see what else has been said. Interesting is I would have expected Keir Starmer to call her the Right Honourable Lady, but he called her, you know, and which woman likes being called her, you know. So I think he was showing her disrespect there, double disrespect, you know. So it's a mark of the man, really. I mean, he's the one that seems to like rules and all that. He should be calling her Right Honourable Lady, I would imagine.
Can I welcome her to her place?
Richard Tice there, well done to Richard Tice, you know. And well done to Sarah, she's given him a good stare there.
but I'm not going to follow her down.
There's also Lucy Pearl there on the left. She's the one who had never kissed a Tory t-shirt. You know, that's not very inclusive or, you know, DEI really, is it? And then she was the one that about a month ago on one of the BBC's question times on radio. One of these appalling legacy shows. Tim Montgomery was on it. The guy who used to be Conservative Home, now he's Reform. But he said something about immigration or something, and she said, "Oh, here's a dog whistle," or whatever. And for 75 years that's worked well, but what she found, she got a lot of backlash for it. And in the council elections, Labour lost badly to Reform, really. So they know they can't really say that anymore, you know. So it is ironic that she's sitting there. And then David Lammy's not making any face of disgust or whatever either, you know.
Down that line, but now she is here and safely in her place. Perhaps she could tell her new party.
And I think this is ironic because it looks like Morgan McSweeney, the PR guy for Labour, said use the Liz Truss thing as a stick, you know, as a deflection stick. But it's not going to work in the slightest, you know, because that's not what people are bothered about. Labour voters are just going to vote Reform. I think that every traditional Labour, SNP, Green, Lib Dem voter wants to vote Reform, but they think there's still a sense of shame on it, like Lucy Pearl tried the other week. But that's breaking totally now. You know, we just had the Hamilton by-election last week, and Reform should be getting 1% there, but they get 26%, and they're the ones who get the victory really in Hamilton last week, because that's Labour and SNP territory as much as you can get. And we've had two council by-elections in Scotland recently, Easterhouse and Clydebank, which were two of the poorest areas. Both of them Reform done very well. I think it was 23%, 26%. They're probably going to win them soon. I think Reform will win all Labour and SNP seats that they can, really. Some Labour seats will go to a new, quote, independents. Yeah, that's the way it's going. But so he's trying this Liz Truss stick. It's a waste of time, really, and I'm embarrassed for him, really.
Party leader that his latest plan to bet £80 billion of unfunded tax cuts. He's no idea how he's going to pay for it. Is Liz Truss all over again? Although, considering I think she was a Conservative member when Liz Truss was leader, she probably won't.
It's just a waste of time, really.
Scott Arthur!
I'll take a look at banks, you just see. I wonder if some of them knew beforehand. I don't think they do, actually. I don't think they're told.
They have no plan for Scotland's future.
Sir Pochin
Given the Prime Minister's desire to strengthen strategic alignment with our European neighbours, will he, in the interests of public safety, follow the lead of France, Denmark, Belgium and others and ban the burqa?
Yeah. Prime Minister.
Can I welcome her to her place? But I'm not going to follow her down that line. But now she is here and safely in her place. Perhaps she could tell her new party leader that his latest plan to bet 80...
That's it really, I just wanted to show that. I think it's a landmark moment, you know, the end of Labour, Tories, Reform as Overton window, because they're not good enough on the issue. I think George Galloway's even better than them. Yeah, so I think everyone should be voting on one issue now. So especially if you vote Labour, Green, SNP, Lib Dem, Plaid Cymru, you should be voting Reform as an Overton window shift. Forget the old party system. I think Reform are going to want to keep the old party system now. They used to be for proportional representation, which is a disgrace, but the PR system's not that better than what we've got. We really need direct democracy where we can vote on issues and referendums. I see in Italy this week they've got 5 referendums. Apparently over there you can do petition referendums. One of them's on immigration and it's by a trade union and they want more immigration, but they want the open border isn't open enough, that's their view. But apparently there you need to get 50% of the votes, and Maloney has told our voters not to vote in it, so it's not going to pass really. So that's the way that just sends a thing to a referendum really, you know. But I mean, I'm not sure about that, but the Swiss electoral system seems the most democratic I've seen. I'm sure that could have been improved as well, you know. But you should be voting on issues like Brexit, Scottish independence. You know, that's what David Cameron did. He was a gambler. He thought he was going to win all of them very, very easily. But because of one issue, he couldn't get Brexit done. And he nearly lost the Scottish independence. He won the first one about additional member system, PR system, which was the worst type of system for PR to please the Lib Dems so that they would come into government with him in 2010. Yeah, that's it really, but I think this is a momentous moment, you know, because finally we're starting to talk about these things. I mean, this was unthinkable probably, well, until she came in really. I don't think anybody would have asked it. Really, definitely not any Labour, because Labour seemed to be in favour of it, you know. Hamza Youssef's mentioned that he's in favour of burqa to bikini. Yeah, so I think it's a momentous moment. I'm hoping everything will be civilised, you know, because if we go too far down the line, I think I worry about the SNP marchers and all that, how they're going to react once they realise the way the country's going to go, you know. They don't seem to realise yet, but if they're sort of enthusiastic enough to go out in marches, you know, wearing kilts and stuff, I do worry, you know, because Ravi Burns, if you look at his past, I would imagine he would be on the statue top of the list, but for some reason he's getting a buy at the moment, Ravi Burns. And when I say that, I think it's tenuous why, but looking at people that have been on the list before, I would imagine he would be a way up higher, you know. But I think he's getting a buy at the moment, cause emotionally, you know, symbolically. So SNP votes are needed because they're one of the most enthusiastic with us, like Sinn Féin, Plaid Cymru, the Greens, Lib Dems, and Labour, and even the Tories. Yeah, so it's a momentous moment. Alright, that's all for now.